Hi everybody, it's Hilary here from We Love Smart Keto. Hope you're doing great. Here today to talk about what is keto friendly. So we had a few questions in the group this week, and somebody in particular mentioned about how do you tell if something's keto friendly. So I thought it would be good to come in and have a bit of a chat about that with you today as our topic. I hope you're all having a happy holiday weekend and that everything's going really well. So just wanted to come and talk to you about keto friendly, particularly when it's the holidays. It can be a bit tricky to work it out. So let's have a talk about it. Now, keto, you could just apply rigid rules. I think it's better to, because the world is not a simple place, and, often we're faced with choices and options. If we're at home on our own or just with our family, it's a bit easier to manage. But, when we're out and about, perhaps with at a barbecue, or, we're having, perhaps if we're lucky enough to be able to have dinner with somebody else, we're having dinner, or we're out at a restaurant, it's important to really have some principles that we can apply to determine, is something that is keto friendly? Is this something that it's appropriate for me to eat? And I think that for me, that's a more useful thing than, just applying a set of rigid rules. If you've got something in your, a set of simple principles in your head that you can apply, then you can manage that. Sometimes that social aspect of keto can be a bit difficult because, as we know, I don't know if you've ever experienced this, I certainly have, when people get actually a little bit offended that you're not going to eat exactly what they're going to eat. Tell me in the comments. Give me yes if you've had a problem in the past where, perhaps a friend or a family member has, actually been a bit surprised and perhaps even a bit upset by some of your choices. And so I think for me, having a sort of simple set of principles that you can apply so that you can choose to eat the way that you've chosen to eat, and at the same time do that in a way that, perhaps half the time people aren't even going to notice that you're eating in a particular way. So let's jump on in and have a chat. As I said, give me a 1 in the comments also if you're watching live, and a 2 if you're watching on the replay. It's just really helpful for me to know who we've got here. So let's talk about this. So the first principle is that, oh, hi, Alex, great to see you. And you haven't had an issue with people being funny or difficult. Well, that's really great. And I'm so pleased to hear it. I know that for some people it can be a bit of an issue, and that's why I'm sort of coming in to talk about it. So any tips or pointers that you've got for people, Alex, and everybody else that's watching, that would be really great. Your number one tip for just making sure that what you're doing is keto friendly would be really helpful. So the first one, I think, is, well, having said those rules, I think the first one is a principle for me of what I do and I don't eat. So, I just make it a blanket rule for, I don't eat refined carbs. I don't eat, anything that's got flour in it. I don't eat pasta or anything like that. I don't eat bread. I don't eat rice, whether brown or white. I don't eat rice. I don't eat pizza. I do eat pizza, but not non-keto pizza, and I don't eat potatoes. So anything that's sort of got carbs in it as sort of the main ingredient, I don't eat that. So that's a kind of a useful rule to have. Anything that is very clearly carbs and has carbs that are not net carbs, so carbs that your body's going to be able to absorb. So the other part of it is, I do eat complex carbs. So I will eat, spinach, broccoli. They do have carbs in them, but they're the fibrous kind, the non-soluble kind that will just go through your system. So just a simple do and don't around those things. It makes it easy. So if you're eating a holiday dinner, holiday barbecue, then you can have the salad pretty easily. But you might not have the potato salad. You might have the green salad, but not the potato salad, for example. So that's a very sort of simple, principle about what kind of carb is it. So hopefully that's pretty easy to distinguish. If you've got any questions about that, please do let me know in the comments. So the next one that I want to touch on is about the level of processing of the food. That's important to think about. So we did a few weeks ago something on levels of processed food. And so what we try and do is, eat the food in as natural a state as it possibly can be. So if you have to look at the back of the can or the back of the jar and read a list of 20 ingredients, that is definitely not lowly processed, it's highly processed. So the aim is, if something comes in a can, look at the back of it. If it's very, got a small list of ingredients and they're all, keto appropriate, then that's fine. Even if it's keto appropriate, but it's got a list of, 20 ingredients, some of which you don't recognize, I would suggest that, perhaps only have a small amount of it or steer clear of it, better yet. So try and eat it as close to natural as you possibly can. So, not, you eat, a tin of creamed spinach, for example, it's got a whole bunch of things added to it. Perhaps not so great. If you can just make your own fresh spinach, if you like cream spinach, make it yourself from scratch. Doesn't take long, pretty simple. So that would be my suggestion is, as a principle, is, how many steps is this away from, when it was out in the natural environment? So make it as simple as possible, as natural, as close to natural as you possibly can. And then the other thing that goes with that and being natural is the fat that I'm eating, is that integrated with the protein? So we know that we're trying to eat a moderate amount of protein on the keto lifestyle, and there are some people that throw butter on their steak or, throw extra, cream cheese into their salad or whatever it might be. I would suggest as a principle, try and eat that fat as a natural part of the other nutrients that you're getting. So for example, avocado, we know it's got a lot of, healthy nutrients in it, lots of minerals that we need. So that has fat with it. So that's integrated with the food. So that's great. Chicken with the skin on, fish, that has the fat integrated with the protein that we're eating. So, as a first principle, try and eat your fat integrated with the food that you're eating rather than having to try to add lots of extra fat. It's okay to add fat, and obviously we only want to add the amount of fat that we need to make us satiated, to make us feel comfortably full. But if you can get that fat just as part of the protein or part of the other nutrients that we're getting in our veggies, then that's by far the best way to do it. So that's our third principle, I think. And then the fourth principle I want to talk about is oils and fats. So things like vegetable oils, so safflower oils, peanut oils and things, while they are oils and they are fats, we want to stay away from those because they are highly processed to get to where they are. Some of the, oils to get made, things like canola oil, they need multiple steps of processing and solvents and things to extract the oil from them. So there's a lot of evidence to say that they're really quite toxic. So with our fats, as a first principle, if our fat is solid, naturally solid at room temperature, that's a really good indication. So something like coconut oil, lard, butter, they're all naturally solid at room temperature. So they're pretty good because it means they're saturated fats, and so they're not going to oxidize, and they're much better for us. And then as a second tier, things like olive oil, which are monounsaturated, so they're much lower in sort of levels of toxicity. They're not going to oxidize, not going to go rancid so easily, much less than something like a polyunsaturated fat like a sunflower oil is going to. So you want to put that as your second tier. So first tier is it solid? Is it a fat that's solid at room temperature? And second, if it's not, then is it monounsaturated? So is it an olive oil or something similar to that? So that's what we really want to aim for, because we want to make sure that even though it might be a natural fat, it's not highly processed, and it's not been made in a way that has some toxic side effects for us. So that's really important as well. And then finally, where we are eating sweet things, Maybe they're naturally sweet, like berries, so strawberries and blueberries and things, which are, a bit lower in sugars, and the sugar is still connected with fiber, and so that's a good thing. So we want, if we are having sugar, that it's low sugar, natural sugar that's integrated with the the fibrous material, because it will still release into our bodies, but it will slow the release a little bit. It's still better we still need to keep our sugars below our 20 grams of net carbs per day, of course. But if we are having sweeteners, artificial sweeteners, of course, we need to keep them to the ones that aren't going to raise our insulin levels, which, as we know, and I sound like a broken record here, but it's our erythritol, our monk fruit, and our stevia are really the three sweeteners that are really okay on keto. Things like aspartame, which we find in Diet Coke, for example, not so suitable, because it might not raise our blood glucose level, but it will still raise our insulin level. So there's a few principles rather than rigid rules, if you like. So one is, I do eat carbs that are complex carbs, so things that have a lot of net carbs in them, but I don't eat refined carbs like breads and flours and pasta and rice and potato. So there's sort of a do's and don'ts kind of principle there. We had another principle there about our food being as close to natural as possible. So think about the number of steps it took to get that food to that state. So, if it's crackers and chips and things, cheesels, for example, is something we have here, twisties, which are kind of orange and twisty, and, they've got flavoring on the outside, and like so far from natural, it's not funny. Obviously that's highly processed, but there are, some keto foods that are also highly processed. So just be aware of that. To be keto friendly, want it to be as simple and as natural as possible. Is the fat integrated in with the other part of the food? So like an avocado or, a steak with the fat on, that's the fat is actually part of the thing that we're eating. We haven't had to add it separately. So that's definitely better. Not that you can't add it separately. It's just, this is just about principles of keto friendly here. And then is the fat solid at room temperature? And if not, is it a monounsaturated fat like an olive oil? That's important. And then the final one that we touched on is, if you are going to have artificial sweeteners, obviously they're quite processed, but make sure that they're the, of the three, that are keto friendly. So tell me maybe that I've missed a tip here. If I have missed a tip, please let me know. If you think there's something that, oh my goodness, she didn't say this particular keto friendly tip, please do let me know in the comments, or just add a post in the group. Be really interested to hear that. I also do have to tell you the winner for this week for the most interactive, and it is yet again, well done. It is Terry Hastings. So, we love all your posts, Terry. You give us some lovely, interesting recipes and some interesting thoughts in there. We do have some other people who's super active, like Alex, who's listening here today, and Diane, and I think Carolyn as well. So, we really appreciate Barbara as well, Barbara Loney. So we really do appreciate all of your comments and contributions. So, just if you haven't won this week, that's fine. We just, better luck next week. And we really appreciate all your contributions into the group. So that's all I have to add for you today. So I hope you've got some good insights about what's keto friendly. Hopefully there's a useful principle that you'll be able to take away from this. And please do add your own keto-friendly tips. We'd be really interested to hear what they are. That's just my sort of simple list that I use in my head when I'm trying to work out, whether something's okay or not. So lovely to chat. We'll see you in the group, and we'll see you again soon. Bye, everybody.